Easy to see.
This is the bottom of the supply chain of your iPhone, of your Tesla, of your Samsung. I mean, I'm just naming those companies.
Right.
It's all of them, right? All of them. We're not just picking on them. And here's what you need to know, Joe, about this video. I was the first outsider to get into this mine. And that's why it's just a really short video that I was able to take. This is an industrial cobalt mine where there's not supposed to be one artisanal miner. Now, that's the term used for people who are just digging by hand as opposed to tractors and excavators. There's not supposed to be one here. That's what the story is told at the top of the chain. This mine, and I can name it, it's called Shabara. There's not supposed to be one artisanal miner here, according to the consumer-facing tech companies and EV companies buying this cobalt. Lo and behold, I walk into this place, and this is what I see. There's more than 15,000 human beings crammed into that pit.
Easy to see.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to CRWS Christmas broadcast. I'm going to be reading from Mr. Barudi's Nyan Saysims. Today's quote of December 25th, 2022. Those with their guts cracked out of them, those with minds so mince, all their remembrance would turn to pain. Leave them along the easy road. Do not condemn, do not pity them. Let them go. Arique Arma. We are about the business of re-Africanization and nation building. Not being distracted from our work by those who will not or cannot listen because their hearts and souls belong to the desert. We warriors of the African way cannot get lost in the confusions of those who do not want to be African under any condition, except as spies or overseers for our enemies. If we do, we will find ourselves wasting time with intellectual mercenaries and lost souls who see their primary mission as taking us off our rightful path by creating frustration after frustration after frustration. Menticide, like misery, loves company. Affirm, I am about the serious business of re-Africanization and nation building. From Arique Arma. Very significant quote, I would say. We are discussing, like we do in every broadcast, the system, business, religion of racism, white supremacy. And the clip that I played in the beginning, that is a small example of what this business of white supremacy looks like. Across the planet, millions of people are unwrapping gifts and a whole bunch of trinkets that came from the same place and many places mentioned in the video that I played earlier, what the individual described as the pit. A very incorrect place where incorrect things are happening. Non-white people, non-white dark people are being forced to literally function still like slaves, because under this system, that is what it means to be a non-white person, a victim of racism. It means to be a slave, all while existing in this insane system where we have concepts like Santa Claus, Christmas trees, red-nosed reindeers, total fantasies. So this broadcast is here to diminish and provide clarity from all of that confusion and nonsense. So I'm going to be reading from Mr. Bawashengo's African People and European Holidays, a Mental Genocide. And then we're going to be discussing Christmas films, and maybe some of our experiences with this day known as Christmas, this very significant day in the business of white supremacy for a number of reasons. But let's get some clarity as to what does Christmas even mean. So one moment. All right, I am starting from page 65 of African People and European Holidays, a Mental Genocide. Saturnalia, aka Xmas, and its historical development in Europe. At Christmas time, many towns and chateaux appointed a lord of misrule to organize pastimes and spectacles for the populace. Murmurs and masks and beards and jolly garb went about performing street plays or pranks, or singing Christmas carols. Houses and churches were decked with holly, ivy, and whatsoever the season afforded to be green. Picture the scene, if you will. The festival of fools led by the Lord of Misrule, with pale-skinned people wrapped in layers of swaddling rags and animal skins, aping up and down the snowy streets, gorging themselves on blood pudding, while threads of blood rare meat caked their teeth and hung out of the sides of their mouths, as the stench of thousands who hadn't taken baths for months or even years filled the air. This, from what we can garner, the present data available to us, is a true historical portrait. It is a part of the European heritage, which in turn is part and parcel of the heritage of Christmas. During the Protestant Reformation, Christmas celebrations were sacred to Bacchus, the Greek Dionysus, by hanging masks and fertility symbols on them. As concerning Europeans and their chronic fertility crisis, Dr. Francis Welsing cites their numerical inadequacies and the questry of color confrontation. In this brilliant paper, she discusses white people's lack of profundity and the natural processes of procreation as opposed to that of the African and Asian. In other words, white people's inability to have babies as frequently as people of color can. Furthermore, vegetation was so spare in relation to the total population of Europe that they generally decorated their houses with anything green they could find. In fact, some places they literally worshipped trees, especially the evergreen. Whites were amazed that anything in Europe could stay green year-round, as did the evergreen tree. So they made it sacred to Freya, the German goddess of love, from which is derived the name of the day of the week known as Friday. Today, black folks sure love Friday. For many, it is a payday, and for countless others, it is the time when the weekend party starts and all the time that you are singing and dancing, you are not even aware that you are in fact discoing to a goddess of love who, by the way, was depicted as an hermaphrodite, part male, part female. Now ask yourself, is this a true part of your culture? Are you German? The obvious answer to a sane person would be certainly not. Then what madness is driving you to dance to the German hermaphrodite deity of love? Truly, it is the madness of a slave mentality and a lack of the knowledge of self. For historically speaking, the Germans nor their goddesses have ever shown much love for you. The legend of Saint Boniface's Christmas tree. According to this legend, the first Christmas tree appeared in Germany around 716 CE. After an English missionary named Winfrid, later dubbed Saint Boniface, stopped some Germans from sacrificing their young prince to an oak tree. In those days, the Germans and Scandinavians considered the oak to be sacred to their war god Odin, or Woden, from which the Americans derived the day of the week called Wednesday. As a sign of the divine approval of Winfrid's intervention, the tale goes on to state that an evergreen miraculously sprung up out of the ground, and the Germans, who at one time were resolved to offer up their prince, now turned to decorating the tree. We cite this story to make clear the fact that there were no Christmas trees as such when Jesus was born. And he mentions way earlier in this book the whole fantasy of Jesus, and he provides a lot of clarity to that. Folks, get your copy of this text and check it out, because that's also a whole nother bombardment of confusion of the mind, that Jesus concept. But continue with the text. Many have been psyched out by the Christmas fantasy that they envisioned the moment the Christians they refer to their blessed abode after. Well, I gotta read this all. I have to read the sentence over. Let me start over. We cite this story to make clear the fact that there were no Christmas trees as such when Jesus was born. Many have been so psyched out by the Christmas fantasy that they envisioned the moment the Christians they refer to their blessed abode after death as Valhalla, the place where warriors fought one another all day, all long, after which their wounds would be miraculously healed at night as they banqueted in preparation for another day's battle. This was the Norsemen's idea of heaven. Wow, it's very, very wacky and insane. Your heaven is literally just you killing and dying over and over forever. That's fascinating. Continuing with the text. It is said in Danish folklore that the most beloved of their deities, Balder, the god of spring, was slain by a sprig of mistletoe hurled at him by his blind brother Hoder, who was inspired by Loki, the daemon. And here you are today running and grabbing sisters and kissing them under the mistletoe. The next time you are tempted to do this, ask yourself, what kind of sense does this make? Are you allowing yourself to be fooled into thinking that you need to get your woman under the symbol of a Scandinavian god to kiss her during the so-called Christmas season? Think about it. The Yule log. The Yule log was burned by Norsemen in adoration to their thunder god Thor, Thursday, whom they said rode across the sky in a chariot drawn by two goats. The traditional burning of the Yule log was commemorated in more remote times in celebration of the event when the African taught the European how to warm his cave. I'm going to read this again. I need to drink some more water first. And greetings. What's the code? Still learning. Greetings. The Yule log. The Yule log was burned by Norsemen in adoration to their thunder god, Thor, whom they said rode across the sky in a chariot drawn by two goats. The traditional burning of the Yule log was commemorated in more remote times in celebration of the event when the African taught the European how to warm his cave. Another example of the European subconscious recollection of the African and fire is set forth in the legend of Sir Lancelot and the fire-spitting dragon. During what is referred to by some scholars as prehistoric times, Africans designated as Grimaldi went into Europe and subdued the ignorant tribes that dwelled there, carrying with them as they went torches of fire, from before which the ignorant troglodyte fled in terror. Upon the standard borne by the conquering Africans was the sign of the dragon. Thousands of years later, after this particular group of Africans had left Europe, the remnants of this event still tormented the European psyche. The fixation was so intense that somewhere between the 6th and 8th centuries CE, legend has it that King Arthur and his knights of the Round Table were still going in search of a fire-spitting dragon. But in actuality, they were going in search of the African who had just recently burned them again when the Moors invaded and conquered parts of Europe under the leadership of Gerbil Tariq in 711 CE. And this is a really condensed version of this information. The author has stated that earlier in the text that this is a very condensed version of Christmas and its meaning. Continuing with the text. Christmas lights. Lights were extremely valuable in ancient Europe because of its inclement and foggy weather. Ever since the post-Ice Age, Europe has Mass Eve. It was on this night that Satan or Santa, the demon saint, for there was little differentiation between saints and demons in Europe at the time. Riding on a jackass or a goat would lead the demons in a merry rivalry as he shared with them the intoxicating substance from his Walsh bowl. According to German mythology, Satan/Santa first appeared as an hairy imp named Pels Nickel in Holland and other European countries. The original Old Nick, another terminology for the devil, was depicted as a very stern person who rode across the frozen waste on the Satan's goat and left a whip instead of toys for naughty children. With the coming of European Christianity to the north, the demon slash saint Old Nick evolved into Saint Nicholas, a bishop of Myra in Turkey, who lived sometime around 300 CE. He is said to have transported himself on a gray horse or a white jackass, an ancient Egyptian symbol of Typhon, the devil. Tradition says that Saint Nicholas restored the life to 3 slain children who had been hacked to pieces and stored in brine by a wicked innkeeper. He is also reportedly to have saved 3 young maidens from being sold into slavery as prostitutes by their father, through secretly providing 3 bags of gold for their marriage dowries. Thus the 3 bod or belled emblem of pawnbrokers became one of St. Nicholas' sacred symbols. This dubious 4th century bishop of Myra eventually became the patron saint of Russia. He was also designated the patron of children, pawnbrokers, and thieves. As a matter of fact, during the Middle Ages in Europe, these were called clerks of St. Nicholas. In reference to St. Nicholas and his criminal affiliations, the Anazuru Allah Community News states, he is really the patron saint of thieves and gangsters who were tagged the Knights of St. Nicholas. He is the patron saint of the pawnbrokers, and their emblem is traced to him. Pirates emblazoned his likeness on their flags. Other words of St. Nicholas are sprinters. Other wards of St. Nicholas are spinsters, sailors, etc. St. Nicholas increased prominence in Western Europe. St. Nicholas' increased prominence in Western Europe was a result of Italian merchants who were reputed to have stolen his bones from Myra and brought them to Bari, on the southern eastern coast of Italy, May 8th of 1807. The celebration of St. Nicholas Festival, which took place December 6th, the supposed date of his death, was banned by Henry. I think this is Henry the 8th, when he was founded, or Henry the 9th, when he founded the Church of England. Later in history, the festival was resumed when Queen Victoria married the German Prince Albert, at which time St. Nicholas became Father Christmas. After the Protestant Reformation, St. Nicholas was re-money. The next time you're tempted to go sneaking around on Christmas Eve after the children are asleep, stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is the meaning of this insanity? Even though, like the rest of us, you have been brainwashed by the economic powers that be, you are still supposed to be an intelligent, accountable adult. So shake yourself of this foolishness and put aside these childish things. It is not too late for you. There is a better way. All right, get some more water because there's more reading to do. Eight. Christmas and Black folks. I think we have clearly established in the foregoing study that Christmas is not a part of our history. It is European, we are African, and the two cultures, in spite of what some folks may romanticized are essentially and diametrically opposed to one another. For Black people to continue to celebrate Christmas is to confine ourselves to perpetual mental enslavement, which in some cases can fester into a total destruction of the capacity to reason. For example, some of the most tragic experiences I have ever encountered have been divulged while talking to some unfortunate brothers in prison who had been engaged in robbing of something or someone in order to get money for Christmas. As I sat there listening to these brothers, I could not help but to think that the most important thing he could have given his family was himself. I can understand all too well the dynamics of the conditioning forces which can lead a man to this. So I appeal to you, Black mothers, Black wives, Black sisters, and Black sons and daughters, to determine within yourself that you will not allow yourself to be used as an instrument to bring your man to this point of frustration. It is not good enough to have a strong Black man who is working as hard as he can in this ungodly system to take care of his family. Does he really have to put himself out there on the limb to buy you some Christmas? Such a man should be all the Christmas you need, and you and the children should be all the Christmas he needs. Surely you must come to understand that the most precious gift of all is to have your family structure intact, as each of you continue to grow and develop towards a more wholesome lifestyle. Many single brothers have been known to break off with their women around Christmas time because they cannot endure its economic burdens. We really need to think seriously about this and ask ourselves if it is really worth the trouble. I have seen sisters dragging brothers from store to store with an armful of packages, and I have discerned from the expression on the brother's face that he is frustrated by the whole affair and is just trying to get along with the story. Wait, what? Get along. Oh no, there's a, hold on. He's just trying to get along with the program to keep his woman and his family. Black women, let me share this with you. An idea of how some Black men may feel about this. Recently, I heard one brother complain that after he and his family had worked and struggled to stay together, he had to go to buy the white man stuff because the white man had invaded his home through radio and television advertisement, Christmas cards, and other psychic techniques which had programmed his family by constantly reminding that there was only so many shopping days left until Christmas. The last minute dash to the stores and the push and shove tug of war involved in historical gift buying. The last minute dash to the stores and the push and shove tug of war involved hysterical gift buying turns Christmas cheers into Christmas nightmare. The merry mess and disillusionment of Christmas is further intensified when you consider that on December 25th, after the children have opened up all the presents, by midday disenchantment has set in, and at least half of them have been cast aside in a broken heap. In an effort to escape the frustrations of this reality, the adults usually resort to palliative and proverbial Christmas cheer and break out the bottle, which in some families is later followed by the ritual of breaking the head. At this point, the virgins of this fool's paradise really began to come to light. The frustrations and disappointment do not mix well with the alcohol, and often during this imbibing ceremony, somebody goes off, and it's usually the brother that put all that money for those broken up gifts. As the big, I need to zoom in a lot more. As the brother continues to drink the liquor, his guard is dropped, and he begins to reflect on the harsh realities of his depraved economic condition, which has just been further intensified by the fiasco of Christmas gift buying. Then, at the dismay of his family members, he starts to express his true inner feelings of his subconscious mind, which are probably summed up in a statement such as, I really don't want no part of this blank. Black people must come to understand that Christmas supports an economic power system which very seldom, if ever, works for our best interest. This inescapable fact brings us to another point of self-examination. Do you really have so much land, wealth, and power that you must take it and give it to the European? Don't you have anything better to do with your resources than that? Will you continue to allow yourself to be commercially intimidated by the mass media into buying gifts at Christmas? Of course, there is nothing wrong and inherently evil about gift buying, but do you really need somebody to tell you when this should be done? The story about, make sure I'm not skipping any pages. Okay. The story about a Jewish European who engaged himself in a religious argument with a European Christian. The Christian said to the Jewish boy, one thing I don't like about your people is that y'all don't believe in Jesus Christ. The Jew replied by saying, yes, we do. Every year on December 25th, my father comes home with big sacks of money, piles them up on the table, lifts his hands towards the heaven, and says, thank you, Jesus. This anecdote is a perfect illustration of who really gets the joy out of Christmas. In actuality, Christmas does not celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ, but rather it applauds, romanticizes, and solidifies pan-European economic domination and power in the world. All right. Christmas. Yes, Toniac. This is the book that I'm reading from. Christmas on the Old Plantation. And we're on page 75. If folks have the PDF or want to know what page I'm on. Christmas on the Plantation. As regards Christmas and antebellum slavery, Mother Jenny Proctor, born a slave in Alabama, 1850, was 87 years old when interviewed, but recalled, old master would kill a hog and give us a piece of pork. We thought that was something, and the way Christmas lasted was according to the big, sweet gum backlog that the slaves would cut and put in the fireplace. When that burned out, the Christmas was over. In a speech of 1882, Frederick Douglass relates his experiences as a slave during the Christmas season. The days between Christmas Day and New Year's were allowed to slaves as holidays. During these days, all regular work was suspended, and there was nothing to do but keep fires and look after stock. We regarded this time as our own by the grace of our masters, and we therefore used it or abused it as we pleased. The holidays were variously spent. The sober, industrious ones employed themselves in manufacturing corn brooms, mats, horse collars, and baskets, and some of these were very well made. Another class spent their time in hunting opossums, coons, rabbits, and other game. But the majority spent the holidays in sports, ball playing, wrestling, boxing, running, foot races, dancing, and drinking whiskey. And the latter mode was generally most agreeable to their masters. A slave who would work during the holidays was thought by his master undeserving of holidays. There was in this simplest act of continued work an accusation against slaves, and a slave could not help thinking that if he made $3 during the holiday, he might make 300 during the year. Not to be drunk during the holidays was disgraceful. We were okay. That's it. That's the end of the quote. We were induced to drink, I among the rest. When the holidays were over, oh, never mind. That's not the end of the quote. My error. We were induced to drink, I among the rest, and when the holidays were over, we all staggered up from our filth and wallowing, took a long breath, and went away to our various fields of work, feeling upon the whole rather glad to go from which our masters had artfully deceived us into the belief was freedom, back again to the arms of slavery. It was not what we had taken it to be, nor what it would have been had it not been abused. And had it not been abused by us, it was as well to be a slave master as to be a slave whiskey. It was as well to be a slave to master as to be a slave to whiskey and rum. When the slave was drunk, the slaveholder had no fear that he would escape to the north. It was the sober, thoughtful slave who was dangerous and needed the vigilance of his master to keep him a slave. Conclusion. Finally, Christmas historically has no real religious significance except to the European world. As such, it has no real meaning to us as a people, for it does not culturally project us in a positive light. Therefore, its failures to meet this means that it can only be working against us, against our best interests. Understanding that there are some immature members of our race who feel they couldn't live without Christmas, we appeal them to stop the wild spending and acting so foolishly during the Christmas season and divest themselves of this mania. This supposed happiness obtained from the merry mess is too brief to pay such a physical, mental, spiritual, and economic price for. Now we invite you to examine the next two chapters of this book, which demonstrate and explore historical roots and meaning of the 7 Black holy days of Kwanzaa, a holiday of freed Black people. So I will conclude the reading there. I hope that was of constructive value. It certainly was for me. Wow. It is 2022. And from the Frederick Douglass quote to hearing from the slave mother Proctor, not much, if anything, has changed. I guess it's that that cliche term, if it's not broke, don't fix it, in regards to maintaining the system with festivities known as Christmas and constantly promoting black people, non-white people to, don't forget to, drink up on Christmas. Don't forget to, do what we're supposed to do when you're subjected to the system of white supremacy, and that subjugation is intended for you forever. You're not supposed to do anything that is counter to that existence. So participating in Christmas, which is, from what we have just learned, hopefully a little bit, which is a very occultic and hidden. The meaning behind Christmas is very hidden. A lot of people do not understand Christmas means, and reflects a lot of only white culture, European culture. This is not what non-white people would be doing had we not been captured by white people. This is a holiday that, according to Mr. Barashango, comes from white people who were once known as the Romans, the Greeks, the Druids, the Teutrans, or the ancient whites. The ancient whites that once the ancient blacks gave them fire, taught them, hey, you don't have to be cold in this cave. You don't have to be cold here anymore. Here's a torch, and I'm gonna help you out. All right. Unfortunately, when we helped them out, they returned their favor with waging this war against us. This war that I am here speaking on, broadcasting about whenever we do a channel, is always about the race war known as Racism White Supremacy. So I was very fascinated with the direct mentioning of the ancient blacks. He didn't use these terms. I believe it was the Grimaldi black people that he quoted to have introduced the ancient whites into the idea that, hey, you can warm up your caves. Very fascinating, very tragic that you would think, okay, let's work together. No, I am this cave has done something bad to my mind, black people, non-white people. Yes, you helped me out. You taught me how to do civilization. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna run with this. I'll be back in maybe a couple centuries. I'll be back with some boats, some swords, and we're gonna do this race war. And we're gonna, destroy you, destroy your culture. We're gonna have you in Iran for thousands of years. We're gonna destroy Carthage. We're gonna have you in year 2022. We're gonna have you all killing each other and blaming each other for that reality, when, of course, we have devised this. We've been doing this for hundreds, thousands of years. So that's what we're gonna do. That's gonna be our system. That is what this race war is, from my observations. And yes, I am a non-white person, which means I am a nigger. But I still think some of the things I say are logical and can be observed if one is paying attention to what is taking place on this planet. But very, very significant. We learned that just in the everyday structure and words that we use, everything has a meaning. We have Wednesday is Boulder, Woden, the ancient some white god from, I think it was one of the Danish ones. One of the Danish ones. We have Thursday for Thor. We have Freya for Friday. It's very, very fascinating. It just tells you, just introduces a person, if they're not familiar with the power of words and how words have multiple can be used to have multiple meanings. And I think what is lost on most people is Neely Fuller says we have to understand the words that people are using. And one of the first things that you learn in so-called higher academia is that you can use any word you want. Just make sure the person that you're using the word with knows the definition you're using. So people must, we as a non-white people must refine our understanding of words. We should understand Christmas. Oh, Christmas. Okay, that's just a day in the system of white supremacy racism, where a lot of commerce is going to be um, spread around, at the cost of black people in the area of the world known as Africa, Asia, wherever dark people reside. They're going to be definitely in the mines, definitely in the sweatshops, producing all these gadgets for people to, go crazy over, to savor over. That's what Christmas is. It's not anything pleasant. It's celebrating this business of white supremacy. It's supporting the business of white supremacy. White people are going to continue to do it because they may be dedicated to keeping the system going forever. It appears so, to me at least. But I'm going to pause there and we'll see if folks would like to chime in.
Can I be heard? I thought it was interesting. I came in late, but hearing Frederick Douglass talk about the idea that it was almost like it was odd if you were not being like drunk, if it was odd if you were not engaging in this type of behavior, and it actually made white people more aware of you if you were sober during this time. It's very interesting to me because I feel like there's a lot of social pressure, whether it's like on the plantation or amongst just like your attempted, or not even attempted, just victim family unit, to engage in self destructive behavior like drinking on these holidays. I thought that was very interesting. I wish I could have heard more of the occult meanings, but I will just read it later on my own time. But another thing is like, it's really interesting how, like, obviously it's a global system because if you go to the country, so-called Ghana, it's like that. It's like Christmas is basically celebrated the whole month of like December, and it's a huge holiday, and it's a big time of like partying, which is really unfortunate to see so many people who are in this country that is filled with black people, and yet they're not celebrating. They're celebrating like these Norse pagan rituals, nothing that has to do with their own culture or history, and engaging in that kind of drunk and just very like self-loathing behavior, because a lot of white rituals are based in self-loathing and like the drunkenness and just like all of the sexual confusion and stuff. So I just think it's really unfortunate that non-white people globally are emulating this type of behavior.
Yes, thank you, Miss Kamaria, for sharing. And that is, yeah, we've been taught to be very much like our people who have captured us, like racist men and racist women. When we, the diet that they have given us, the so-called American diet, just the fleshy diet of meats and just processed nonsense. When I was reading about just how they would just have orgies and just would just pig out and just feast and feast and feast. That's what we do during these Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's very, 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 very common to just see like a bunch of things that we have been taught that is food, just laid on the kitchen table, and we just really just gorge ourselves on poison, on alcohol, and meat, just like the Vikings used to do, just like the Romans used to do, just like all the ancient whites used to do, because no, that's the religion of white supremacy. These are the ritualistic practices that we have been taught to partake in, but we don't know we're doing rituals that are going to capture our mind and confuse our mind. We don't know we're doing rituals that are going to cause us to mistreat one another, literally. But that's why we must understand that the system is very scientific, and it has done a awesome job at planning out our behavior, and it does that largely through controlling our religion. I mean, our emotions as well, controlling our emotions.
I wonder if anyone else has any experience of kind of speaking to people, their associates or victim unit or people they work on the plantation with, about the kind of pagan history behind Christmas, or just like the occult history behind Christmas, and I'm wondering what the responses of the non-white people were, because when I've tried to bring it up, I'm always kind of told that getting like I'm almost interrupting their fun and mindlessness. And I'm wondering if anyone else has any responses. Like, has anyone been somewhat attentive, or have they actually listened and changed their mind about these holidays and how they celebrate them?
I think it's also something that I don't know if I read it on a broadcast or if when I was reading privately, but he mentions that when a person tries to like tell the truth about these about Christmas, that they are often met with a lot of disdain, because that is the sort of damage this information, this Christmas celebration, holiday celebration does to the mind. And when you believe such a thing, and when a person tries to provide clarity, something just incorrect happens, I guess, to the mind. But no, I can't say I've been able to talk about this stuff to other victims of racism in my so-called family, um or any of my associates. It's nope.
I guess for me, definitely a no. Especially on my father's side, I think even if I attempted to bring up this information, it would get pushed back along with my mother's side. If I ask my only, living grandmother this, I think I would be getting a lot of pushback. Same thing. So yeah, I just let them celebrate whatever they think is supposed to be celebrated. But I think if I did bring it up to them, lots and lots of pushback. I mean,
I haven't had any results with that as well. The only people outside of the victim unit that I've been able to have any kind of um, relation with this information is people who already don't believe in it. Trying to deprogram the victim mind, I found, is almost impossible. And I'm very grateful that that you read from 2000 Seasons, that quote from Aikwe Arma. You just have to let them go. And people can take that however they want to, but that's just the reality, in my opinion.
I wonder if you almost have to like this may sound manipulative, but like learn tactics that they use to like deprogram people when they're under some sort of like CIA manipulation. Because I feel like that's because I like I'm not sure what else to do because I agree like it's probably best to just like let those people go, but it's also just like it's a majority of the black population, probably like 88% of them. Like I don't know. Maybe it's something that I should read into is how people get deprogrammed when they're under that those type of like mind control.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I think based on like who I know that's in my uh, family unit, um, I think my father is probably the only person that I can bring this up to, and he'll like read it, uh, like think about it, and pretty much come to his own conclusion on if this is correct or incorrect. So like I think that's probably the only family member on that I know that will take this information and be like, hmm, let me think about it some more. But yeah, he doesn't celebrate Christmas either. So um, but I'll mute.
No one. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say my attempted mother. She called me and she said Merry Christmas, but she did also tell me that she is doing some learning about like the real meaning behind this holiday. So maybe she'll hopefully get less confused about this day and no longer feel compelled to utter the words Merry Christmas next year. But we shall see.
I found with topics like this, and not just say outside of Christmas, because I grew up in the cult known as Jehovah's Witnesses. So no one in my immediate victim unit does Christmas. But I don't see it making a difference in the grand scheme of things because just if you don't do Christmas, but you still feast on meat. So I don't, but if that person doesn't want to see the value in the information, or they found further deception by suspected racists or people who practice racism, then it really doesn't matter what information that you give because they'll, like you were saying, Kamaria, what I found with that kind of programming, uh, we don't have the media power as victims, and we don't have the power to literally capture victims, strap them down, and reprogram them. Because what I've found, especially with family members, as soon as you start talking, they'll either hang up on you, they'll change the subject, or they'll get hostile, and it makes me hang the phone up. So I think it's literally we have to start capturing victims and reprogramming them, or I just say let them go because I haven't seen any. I've been in a constant debate with attempted family members for going on 7 years now, and it happened the day I attempted to get my African mind back. And
Yeah, this propaganda is too cemented in the majority of my victim units brain computers. For yeah, for sure they. Yeah, this is why I said there's a lot of significance to this Arma quote. Like I'm still gonna pity them, but if you really want to believe in like not even believe in Santa Claus, because I really hope a lot of these so-called adults are not actually still believing in Santa Claus. But if you really believe like you need the need to participate in these festivities of going to get gifts and wrapping gifts and going through that whole ritual, and you don't have the will or energy to go to producejustice.com and learn the code and study the code, buy the code at producejustice.com, but you could go do some Christmas shopping, then yeah, I definitely that's highly condemnable. Like that is super. So Neely Fuller has introduced us to racist logic and counter racist logic, because the automatic thinking that we operate on is racist logic. I describe a lot of our behaviors as we are just acting white. We want to be white so bad because that's all we've been taught to do, white thing. Because you know, maiming and going out and showing off stupid stuff and killing each other, that is racist white supremacist behavior. That's white behavior. That is ain't nothing black or African or just about that behavior. That's acting white. So when we want to go, get our turkeys, go get our gift cards to wrap up and put in the little bags and whatnot, that's us acting white. We're using racist logic, not counter racist logic, not logic that is going to get us from under the system, but logic that's going to keep the system going and make us weaker, make us more confused, make us more what we are, things we should not be, in a place that should not exist, the system of white supremacy. So we need to really stop acting white, stop, because we're not. We can never be white or white supremacists. And that's the kind of language that needs to be that I would like to see more um popularized. And we see a non-white person behaving incorrectly, hey, stop acting like a white supremacist. What are you doing? Are you a terrorist? Are you a white supremacist? Racist? You worship Odin. You want to go to Valhalla. You want to go it's a magical realm where you can kill people over and over and then come back and do the same thing the next day over and over. Is that what you want to do? If not, maybe we should produce justice. Maybe we should guarantee that no one is allowed to be mistreated, and the people who need help receive constructive help. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should act like just people. Just a suggestion from a victim of racism, prisoner of war.
Mr. Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you brought up that like maybe we should start capturing black people and like reprogramming them. There's a movie called The Drop Squad that I was thinking of as soon as you said that. So yeah, it's called The Drop Squad.
I have to watch that. Thank you, sir. And I was saying that metaphorically. I'm not going around capturing people. I don't act like a white person.
For sure, for sure.
I think a big part of my victimization, to go along with what you were saying, or five, about just the participation in these horror days. Um, I think a lot of that comes from our need to feel accepted. I guess you could put it in terms of groupthink or being left, feeling we're always left out of stuff. So any way we can participate in things so we don't feel quite as left out, I think that could be a bigger factor than the actual act of quote unquote, you know, doing Christmas. Um, all of the media, um, everybody's doing stuff and you're not, you kind of, I think that victims, myself included, um, don't haven't built up the will to be independent or not follow what everyone's doing. Um, I think that happens with a lot of our confusion. We just wanna be in, we don't want to be left out of conversation, let's say at the workplace. We don't want to be, we don't want to be the only one not going to the family dinners, things like that. I think a lot of that has to do with the will and just not lying to yourself. I think Dr. Wilson speaks about that. One of the first steps is just not lying to yourself. I think that we've been taught to lie to ourselves and then teach that to other victims and see that as the norm.
Yeah, and taught, made to be vilified for telling the truth about this nonsense. I will probably remember this until the day the racists eliminate me, directly or indirectly. But I was in elementary school, like probably like third grade or something, and it was around freaking Christmas time. And I told a black male, Santa is not real, right? And he literally started crying because Santa wasn't real. I guess it's like I had, disrupted the fantasy he was thrown in by the system and his attempted parents tragically. And that just goes to show you how deep this programming goes. And yeah, we really should not have what is the constructive value of any children believing in some magical person flying around delivering them gifts. If you're good or bad. No, this is definitely racist programming. This is definitely um yeah, a concept used to maintain, refine the status quo known as racism and white supremacy.
I suspect it also reinforces the white savior mentality that we've been given also as victims. Just logically, um, let's say if I was to practice Christmas, I would have to ask myself, well, first, am I celebrating Jesus or Santa Claus? What is the correlation with, is it, yeah, I mean, just that question right there. Is it Jesus or is it Santa, or are they one and the same? Am I being good for Jesus all year? Am I being good for Santa? I think a lot of, well, what I've seen a lot with the practice of racism, white supremacy, and programming victims is there's always a dual function. They'll say you can do this and you can't do that, but then the actions of the racists are the opposite. So they'll do what they tell you not to do, and then vice versa. And I've seen what that creates, and studies show that that actually creates a mental break in the mind when you're constantly giving contradicting paradigms, and it creates a split. And that's also the first step in what is known as brainwashing someone. You have to cause a mental split, and then you can easily reprogram the mind.
Thank you, Mr. Yawu. Always very, very constructive information. So, does anyone have any comments about the text before we talk about some films?
I just have one comment about the text. I think if attempted counter racists or just people who don't believe in Christmas in general, and you have victim unit or family members who do participate, maybe this book might be a great quote unquote stocking stuffer.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. I'm going to play a sound bite. Good sound.
Redskins. No! Hey, what do you need? You better put me down. Who do you think you are? Telling you what's the truth, I'll lay you in your grave. I don't care how big you are. Kindly return to me my hat, Tenderfoot.
You say you take no more men. You tell blind stories.
You better watch out that savage don't scalp you in your sleep. Engine lover. Look.
All right, so the soundbite was just from the movie The Indian and the Cupboard, and yeah, this is a Christmas movie. Doesn't matter. We're talking about a lot of movies on this broadcast, but this movie is very 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 interesting and just super super duper like all movies super duper racist. This reminds me of like a super enhanced version of like The Toy with Richard Pryor or something like that. This is what this reminds me of. This white child is literally um becomes no not becomes is during this film like a god like figure or a god to this red male, this non-white male, so-called Native American. I think his name in the movie is Little Bear. And just the title of the movie is just I think them just clowning us directly because it's the Indian and the cupboard, but it's actually about a Native American and a cupboard. It's actually about like a red person, not a Indian, and it's like jokes on top of jokes. Omri, the white boy, he like his best friend is an actual Indian person. So it's like, the people behind this film. I know one of the person is the same lady who helped to write. I think it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was E.T. But yeah, Melissa Well, this is something we'll get to it at some point when we talk about E.T. and the other films. But there's one part of the movie. Oh, actually, just from the sound clip, you hear freaking the I think this character's name was Boone. Yeah, Boone. The cowboy character's name was Boone, and like throughout the movie, he's just super like. Actually, when he first sees the Native American, he immediately tries to kill him because he's a white supremacist, and you know, he's just on his white code immediately. And but the white child protects the, you know, white savior, um protects little bear. And then throughout the film, he is calling Littlefoot like a savage, or a redskin, or an Indian. And then there's one part of the film where Boone, they're watching the kids, and they're watching TV, and Boone says, "Oh, Apaches, those are the ugliest redskins to ever live." So that they're just so much, you know, direct racism, overt racism, and this child's film. So this film, I suspect, was you know, arranged to make the minds of white children's, you know, more creative, you know, more powerful, more confident. And I think it was also arranged to probably, you know, for the non-white people who are exposed to this, to do what the system is designed to do: deceive and produce confusion, because the movie is quite silly, and I would say is very just super tacky and trashy, you know, because there's a scene where they're watching TV, and Lightfoot suffers like from a like PTSD or something, because they're watching TV, and it's a scene where all the red people are being killed by the white supremacists, by the white people. And I'm like, why is this in this movie? Because, you know, there nothing of constructive value was said about it. Like, oh yeah, this is like, Littlefoot doesn't look to the white child and say, "Look, do you see what you people did to my people?" He doesn't say that. He doesn't say anything like that. He says, "Hey," does he say, "Are you people still doing this to my people?" Nope. There's no. He doesn't say anything of constructive value. He just responds. He responds how he responds, and almost kills Boone. But just the whole setup of the movie, you got an Indian Native American. I don't know. I'm confused now by the movie. It has done this job, but you got the Native American and the cupbearer. That's also like could be a play on words. I know being in a closet is slang for being anti-sex and whatnot. So that could be a little inside joke in a writer's room as well. Indian in the cupboard. And let's see. I know actually I haven't even got to my written notes about this movie. I was just going off of what I can recollect. Okay, yeah, and so Boone, this movie definitely just shows you how non-white people are treated, and how that mistreatment is designed to just really not just mistreat the body, harm the body, but to confuse the mind as well. Because when Boone first meets Little Bear, he tries to kill him, and he spends most of the majority of the movie insulting him and making jokes. Say, hey, watch, make sure you don't get scalped by him. Just making all sorts of racist jokes about Little Bear. And then, freaking Little Bear and Boone are in a shootout. Well, Little Bear has a bow and arrow, and Boone has a gun. And then Little Bear shoots a arrow and knocks off Boone's hat. And then Boone says, "What's the matter with that engine?" I'm like, well, you're trying to kill him. You are directly mistreating him, and then you ask him what's the matter with you. I think that's racist logic. I think that yeah, that is how the system functions. You know, it creates all these vile scenarios that non-white people find themselves in, and then when we respond, how we've been programmed to respond, it's like, what's wrong with this nigger? Or what's wrong with black people? What's wrong with non-white people? What's wrong with these Asian people? What's wrong with these any person non-white? What's wrong with these people? Well, you know, this system of white supremacy is quite devastating on the mind, and it causes us to do a lot of incorrect things. So that scene was very, very just I noticed it. And I saw this film, of course, when I was a young victim of racism. So all of this went way over my head. The fact that the Boone also insults the Indian child, Patrick. He calls him, what does he call him? He calls him cow pie. That's what he calls the Indian child, which is code for cow shit. But even after the Indian kid, he also shoots the Indian kid in the face. Yeah, it's like when Boone first sees the Indian kid, he shoots him in the face, and then calls him cow pie, and then the Indian kid is like, "Oh, I want him, like I want him, like I want him as my toy." I'm like, "Well, he just shot you in the face and called you cow shit," but this is the system. You know, we are abused, mistreated by white people, but we still, you know, want to be amongst them, feel like we need to be amongst them, feel like we need to be around them. In some cases, we do to get constructive value, to get constructive information, but a lot of cases we don't. A lot, like when we are like partying with them or socializing with them, in a frivolous matter, that's another thing that can cease until this problem is ended. Honestly. And what I've been also seeing in a pattern I saw, I've been watching a lot of these like 90s movies and 80s movies about like the family genre films with I think with this movie and with E.T., like there's some big white families. I'm like, white people say they're like a global minority, and they say like that they're having a hard time producing babies. Does anyone know a big white family? I'm sure some of us, maybe not people from this panel, but maybe the people who may listen to this can name one, but I personally don't know any big white families that, you know, that function like these films present themselves to. They have given us the illusion that there's this like happy white family. In some cases that's true, but white families are very, very much insane and dysfunctional, like all so-called families under the system of white supremacy. There's no such thing as a healthy, fully functioning family on this planet. White people are the only group allowed to call themselves a family, they are afforded the benefit and power to protect themselves and provide for themselves, because the system is it's their welfare system. It's not for us. It's their welfare system. So they function as a family in that regard. Non-white people, we do not. So we should eliminate this myth that there's this jolly white happy family that they had to do a lot of incorrect work to get to where the white supremacists are. Let me see if I have anything else to say about this movie. This movie is very there's one part where the little bear he asked for a gun. He asked for a white man's gun, and the child is like, "Nope, I'm not giving you a gun. Why would I give you a gun? You're a non-white person still. Even if you're a toy, you're still a non-white person. Even though the child knows he's gonna be bringing other toys to lives who have guns, rifles, revolvers. That was very, very interesting. Yeah. And is there anything else about this movie that is? Yeah, and I would not encourage folks to go, try to go on some nostalgia trip and watch these films unless you're gonna do a study and try to find some things that I certainly missed in watching this film. If folks have any comments about this film or any of the films that we've been watching lately?
With this film in particular, you mentioned when the cowboy shot the Indian in the face. Like, notice that when they brought the Indian toy to life, he did not point his gun at the white boy. He was mostly pointing at the two non-white people, the so-called Indians. I'm confused on what they are, but yeah, like throughout the entire scene, he did not even bother to even ask who the white boy was. He just was more concerned about the two Indians. So yeah, that's what I noticed, and I'll mute.
Just to make a quick comment, I didn't get a chance to actually watch this flick, but when '05 brought up the whole big family thing, I thought of Home Alone, like another movie where you got a big family. But I don't personally know any white person who has a big family, so just wanted to add that. I'll mute.
I would definitely agree with that. I haven't seen too many large white families, and I definitely haven't seen any white families that act like they do on these films. Um, I forget exactly who it was. I don't want to misquote anybody, but they were talking about the power of the television shows in the 50s and 60s. Your Leave It to Beaver. Um, you can just go down the list. Andy Griffith's show, to show these perfect, serene little white families, um, all white neighborhoods, reminiscent of the baby boomers, um, kind of still reminiscent of what they call the greatest generation or something like that. The World War II patriots who freed the world, I guess you could say, what they say. But I haven't seen any evidence of this. You look at all the violence that even the young ones commit with school shootings and all that, like all that's taught in the home. So once again, it can't be two things at the same time. We can't have these films that are supposed to represent real family relationships when that's not happening in reality. But just more of the programming by people who practice racism in the area of entertainment, which affects our health as well. Yeah, I'm,
And one last thing about the movie, when a white kid sees this, when they watch it with the white family, the white family teaching them, that uh, this movie is mainly about that these non-white people are your pets, their toys, your accessories, and when a non-white person sees this, they're gonna see this as, you know, you can get along with so-called, with a racist who pretty much, says all, treat you like you're nothing, calls you all these derogatory names, like the scene where the Indian and um, the cowboy get along with each other in the school when they take him to school, and when they're in the little bag thing, they had a lot of friendship between them, but then later they just kind of get along with each other out of nowhere. And after he shoots after the Indian shoots the cowboy, with the arrow in the heart or the chest, or whatever. But the Indian just sitting there, with the cowboy laying in the lap and everything, feeling sorry for him and all that. It's like, yeah, this is super programming. So yeah, that's what I gotta say. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
if I could say, I'm sorry.
yeah, well, like that scene where they're in the bag and they just are getting along because yeah, that was very telling, and your analysis is very spot on, Brandon, and what this film is doing. It's showing the white child, like, look at this image. Where's the image? Like, literally, this white child has this non-white male in the palm of his hand. Like we have the non-white people in the palm of our hands. But with non-white person, the people who try to kill you, the people who mistreat you, it's okay as long as at the end of the day you guys can have something in common to laugh about and cry about. You guys can be friends. Cause he shoots, Little Bear shoots Boone, and then he's sad about it. I'm like, he's literally, he's your enemy. Aren't you supposed to, aren't you supposed to do that? But no, he's sad about it. So it's also programming us. Hey, when we do harm the people who've been harming us, that's a bad thing. You don't do that. You don't harm the people who are shooting at you. That's bad. So this film, very, very powerful propaganda. Um, Thank you, Brandon and Mr. Yawu.
Yeah, I just wanted to definitely agree with you, with Brandon and Brandon, sir, with your very astute analysis of that. It really made me think about in 12 Years a Slave and just the practice of how the one time a year Massa gets to re-up on all the foul things that he's done to you. When is that? At Christmas. So it's almost like Christmas is the ritual of where we forgive our abuse all year because we've gotten these little gifts that we've actually paid for ourselves, and still give the praise to the white man and the white woman and the white child because it's still the same plantation ritual. Thank you for that analysis, sir.
Thank you, because wow, that's very fascinating and profound. Um what you just said. Wow. Okay, so oh yeah, and Home Alone, and yeah, yes, Tevin, Home Alone, giant white family, yes, that, yeah, more white mythology, and these even in these films that are not labeled fantasy, they're definitely fantasy films. So the next film, actually, let's so I did want to make sure this lady who is behind this film, let's make sure we get that. Yeah, here we go. Melissa Matheson. Oh yeah. Okay. So there we go. So let's go. Let's talk about ET now. Let's talk about ET. A very gross movie. Like I used to like most of us. I'm sure had an affinity for this little non-white creature here. But after a less confused viewing, I just feel pity for the creature, and I am quite yeah I'm quite appalled by its presentation and how it looks, to be honest. But the movie E.T., another example of this child, and you know this problem of racism, racist man, racist woman, and racist child. The holy trinity of keeping this system in place. The evil trinity, I should say. Yeah, I'm a correction. That nothing holy about racist man or racist woman or racist child. I should say yes. That's the evil trinity keeping this system in place. But another film where a white child comes into possession, because what's the first thing E.T. does? I mean, my bad. What's the first thing Elliot does when he finds E.T.? Everybody, one of the first thing he does is he names him. He names him because that's his pet. What the religion of white supremacy didn't doesn't according to the Bible, Adam was given the power to name the animals and whatnot, and name nature. And when you are given that power, that means you have dominion over the things you are naming. So immediately upon Elliot meeting this alien, he dominates it. Okay, you're ET, and I'm not gonna try to communicate with you. I'm not gonna see if I could ask you your name. Nope, you're ET. You're my pet. I'm taking you. I'm capturing you. Actually, it looks like he took a man to shelter him, but nope. He was ET was captured. I believe he was attempting to go home, but Elliot certainly delayed that because I suspect Elliot may be a white supremacist. And there's a number of things Elliot does throughout the film that a white supremacist would do. Like, for example, Elliot feeds this creature a ton of candy, a ton of sugar. That's what the racists have done to us. Fed us a ton of poison, ton of sugar. Called it food when it's really not food. It's actually killing us slowly, but it's called food. He keeps ET in the closet, mostly in a closet, and he is forced to act like one of his toys to hide from his mother, because all of these freaking movies, for some reason, not for some reason, because the racist mindset has to teach this to its people, white and non-white people, especially the white people. It has to teach this deception, especially deception in the form of withholding information, because you'll always see this very common behavior pattern of children not telling their parents what's going on. Like Indy in the cupboard, Omri did not tell his folks, hey, they got sentient creatures in my closet over here, and this box that you gave me for Christmas or whatever. And same here. Elliot does not tell the mom about E.T. until very late in the film. I think that's just, because the system understands that in order for this place to remain intact, deception in the form of direct lying to one another and deception in the form of withholding information, that has to continue, and that has to be done by everybody, especially white people. So that's why it's been so normalized. Kids probably think, because all of these films have that theme so common, don't tell your adults. When serious things happen to you, when you see serious things, don't tell your parents about it. That's what I get from all these films involving children. And then you hear stories about children saying all these horrible things happened to them, but they didn't tell their parents about it. I wonder why. But anywho's, more evidence that Elliot may be a white supremacist is because we are certainly aware that Elliot knows that E.T. is a boy, because he calls him a boy. Like, he says he's a boy when someone is talking to him about E.T. So if E.T. is a boy, why would this be allowed to happen to him? Why would Steven Spielberg allow the characters to put him in a dress? He's a boy. Very, very interesting, very significant. Is it clowning on how the racists go about dominating other peoples, effeminizing the whole collective? Because what did we learn from the Delectable Negro? According to the white mindset, the black race is the lady of the races. All y'all are feminine. Y'all males, y'all females, yeah, we dominate. We've been dominating y'all for a while. We made y'all to translate what that means in the white mindset. We literally made y'all our bitches. That's what the racists are saying when they say that we are the lady of the races. So that's why they have a long record of showing males, non-white males, and these in dresses, and now aliens. Hey, if you're an alien, you're a boy here. We gotta dominate the universe too. You gotta dominate the stars too. So if we come in contact with you, you're gonna be introduced to some sexual confusion, and that usually starts with a dress, a wig, But I'll pause there. Hopefully folks have some comments to share.
When I was watching this movie, oh yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna briefly say that after watching this movie, like this movie felt very, what I want to say, very sexually creepy to me because like the alien looks like a black phallus. I mean, even when they were going out for Halloween and they had the ghost costume on the alien ET, like he was like sitting there looking at the white boy's mother very sexually, and yeah, the movie just felt weird to me. I don't know, not really a good movie to me anyway. So I always thought it was trash. Anyway, go ahead.
I think this movie is one of the greatest examples of our condition as victims and how we have been captured, like O5 explained. The individual suspected racist Steven Spielberg Um, this movie is a great example of how they think of us and how they treat us in our relationship to them. We're seen as foreign black bodies that can be captured, abused, made fun of. Um, um, wow. I mean, I want to do an entire decoding of ET because this movie is, there's so many little things that just go in between. Um, how how they did us on these plantations, especially in the Caribbean, and just the production of sugar. If you look back in history, when they were in before the transatlantic slave trade, they used to get sugar out of pig fat. But once they found that sugar cane, it started that, like it re-energized that inner Yoruba, or that nature of consumption, or how it talked about the delectable Negro, how we were seen, basically as black candy. It's shown all over the world, chocolate that Nana Wilson talks about, but how they were able to consume us through our labor of this refining of sugar. So it's very telling how he has to deceive him with this trap that he has. He gives him these Reese's Pieces. What's inside the Reese's Pieces? More chocolate. So he tricks this alien, and I never really realized, yeah, he probably was trying to get back home before Elliot trapped him. So just everything. He gets it with sugar. I suspect, just my analysis, that's what makes him get sick when they take him out for this little ritual, of Halloween. They get him sick. The main thing I want to say about, which is also very telling in coding, is he came to, the alien is brown. When he gets sugar and hangs around white people, he gets sick and turns white. And that's the main thing I got from this film. And I think that that's a lesson that non-white people should look at when we look at this movie. I find it highly constructive in our relationship with them and why we need to separate from them. Not violence, just separate. Because when we're around them, we get sick and then we take it out on each other. And that stabilizes racism, white supremacy as a whole structure. I think this movie is an excellent example of that. Yeah,
Um, Again, I did not watch this flick, but uh 0526 brought a comparison. So I watched Stranger Things. It's a TV series on Netflix. Season one, the main character, 11, is played by a white female. She's basically a lab rat, and she escapes from this laboratory, and her head is shaved. Um, these boys find her, and I'll just read this. It says that uh, Mike, Dustin, Lucas uh, are pretty much trying to look for the missing friend Will, and the boys learn that uh, her name is 11, based on the 11 tattoo found on her left forearm. Mike decides to call her L. So I um for short, and allows 11 to live in his basement, fearing recapture. 11 convinces Mike not to tell any adults, so basically her papa couldn't find her, which is Dr. Brenner from the TV series. She also eats, like, frozen waffles. So yeah, so like as soon as he brought up the whole thing about the actual white character naming ET, I just thought of Mike naming 11 L. So yeah, I'll mute there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tevin and Mr. Yahoo, for sharing Yes, that you're being around white supremacists and just the white people who are not um helping us to end this problem, which seems to be most of them. Um, definitely is a putrid environment, and if you're in a putrid environment, it's certainly susceptible to get sick, very ill, and also ET, like this movie is about a child, a white child coming into possession of a very I won't say powerful being because he was captured by a child, but I will say this being has a lot of potential because this being, well, he has telekinesis, and he seems to be able to he seems to be a very good engineer um of sorts. So his potential is very grand, but but Elliot was able to definitely sabotage that immediately, and he's only a child. It's very symbolic to our condition as Black people. We are people. If we actually looked at our history and what we were once capable of doing with our minds and our bodies, we are full of endless, awesome, constructive potential. But because we've been captured by white people and made so sick, we do not understand that. So we really need to be like ET and like phone home meaning begin to remember, know that, know ourselves, know thyself, know what we should be doing on this planet, which is not to be slaves, not to be little ETs, but to phone home to our consciousness, meaning that we are actually aware that white people are mistreating us because we are not white. Simple as that. You know, we need to, you know, we don't have a home to go to like ET. We're not getting a spaceship out of this mess, but we can do some thinking, some problem solving, some actual maneuvers. And a lot of these maneuvers, we don't even have to think about ourselves. We literally, you can let's do this right here. We go to this website right here called producejustice.com, and we can secure our copy of the code book, and we can study, read, and apply this logic to our existence. You know, use the terminology, understand the terminology, promote the terminology, and once enough victims of racism, non-white people are doing this, we are going to drive the racist to the decision, the final solution, our final solution. Produce justice, guarantee no one is allowed to be mistreated, and the person who needs help the most receives constructive help, or kill us all, kill all non-white people, all Black people, all Asian people, kill everyone not white. And now racism is gone because there's only white people left. So there can't be a system of white supremacy if there's only white people. So one way or another, the problem was solved. But we have to be about solving this problem. E.T., even though E.T. was like captured by children, being terrorized, being put in dresses, you know, he still he still came out of that drunken stupor that he was in. Because don't forget, E.T. was also, you know, wasted off alcohol, but he got up. He made the technology, the equipment he needed to send a message for help, and he got the help that he needed. The white people didn't give him the help he needed. He at first needed to do a lot for himself, for himself before he was able to get away from the white people, get out of their system for the time being, because if this system is allowed to go on until infinity, they're definitely gonna track ET's planet down, and all the ETs are gonna be in dresses. Eventually, but I may have digressed a tiny bit. But ProduceJustice.com, Neely Fuller Jr. has done a lot of the work for us. We just need to, continue on with the efforts and get this problem solved. So, ProduceJustice.com, buy the book. Buy the book. So, oh yeah, ET's finger, phallic symbol, perhaps. His neck also. This creature just, I think he's designed to be a little bit I think he may have been designed to be unpleasant, to look unpleasant, and because he's already going to be associated with non-white people, that's like, more bang for your buck. We have this alien creature, he's people are going to associate him with non-white people, probably black people, and he's ugly. He's kind of annoying sometimes too. So that's very common in this system. A lot of entertainment, you're gonna have like annoying creatures on the screen, and they are supposed to represent black people, non-white people. Okay, that is how this system keeps a person's mind at a place where black people can be being thrown away, being, forced to slave in mines, and children disappearing 24/7, and a whole bunch of incorrect things are happening. In order for this to take place, a person's mind has to be in a place where, you don't think much of a black person anyway. They're just, what was it? What's the word? So expendable. Yeah, that's what they are. We are. I am. I've been made to be expendable in this system. So the next movie won't spend too much, or I won't spend too much time. I don't know who has notes on what, but wow, another annoying and disgustingly annoying movie that super celebrated. I'm sure it has been watched over 1,000,000 times this year. I mean, in a span of couple of days, because it's Christmas. It's this movie right here. So I just think this movie did a awesome job, and to again, like the film, the Indian in the cupboard, increase the confidence and creativity of white children. Just this is like the child's version of, the poor man James Bond. We literally have a white child who's like, booby trapping his house. This is preparing, that's definitely warfare. Definitely, this child is conducting warfare. Instead of going to some sort of adult who he can get some constructive help from. No, this child is like, hey, I'm a white boy. I got white power. I'm eventually going to be a man, the only man that exists in my system, a white man. So I can solve this problem on my own. Literally, I can, and I'm gonna solve this problem with what we do best in my system: violence, deception. These white men who are trying to invade my home. They are like the way they want to practice white supremacy, the way they want to wield their white power is no match for my white power, and that is what this film is displaying. You know, we have some white on white conflict, but all of them are practicing racism, white supremacy. The child, the 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 wet bandits. You know, and I'll pause there. Yeah, we can keep it going because I don't know how many people saw this movie. I do not need to just spending time on movies that people are gonna have comments for.
Oh yes, sir. I saw it. I think you covered everything that needs to be said about it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, same. Again, he could have just went to a family's house. Well, I mean, well, neighbor's house, called the cops, let them know that, you know, um, I'm missing my family and yada yada yada. But he went on his way to just torture two criminals uh, for the for pretty much the duration toward the end of the actual flick. So yes, and lots and lots of not caring about children in the beginning of the flick. Um, Lots of discourteousness toward this white child, uh, to where he granted a wish that his whole family disappeared. And then and then when they leave to actually go to the airport, he wakes up and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay. I think I think my family like actually disappeared." So yeah, again, one of the like I said, I actually tweeted something that says it's in like the actual top five, like most watched Christmas movies. There's a reason why people love him torturing these two white people. That's it. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's pretty much no reason to actually watch this flick at all. So
Yeah,
I'll
and
just mute you.
yeah, and let's not be. I'm not confused that the wet bandits are definitely supposed to be non-white people. They're definitely coded to be non-white people for sure as well. They just couldn't use that. Yeah, it would have been too obvious if they used some non-white people for the wet bandits. Thank you, Mr. Monsoon.
Oh,
Uh,
last thing,
um.
last
Uh,
thing, last thing,
Go
last thing.
ahead. Go ahead.
Danny, by you even bringing up the fact that they are supposedly not white people, uh, I think it's either no, it's not Danny DeVito. It's Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci has a gold tooth. So yes,
And if you look at them too, they have like dirt on their faces, like as if they're. I mean, it's supposed to imply, I guess, that I don't know. To me, it
yep,
just means it looks like they're just trying to make them darker by putting dirt on their faces.
yep,
Yeah, they see blackface.
and am I hearing this correct? Their name are the Wet Bandits. Is that what
yeah,
they're
yeah,
called? Like
yes.
two separate words, Wet Bandits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then in and
Wow.
then in
Well,
the
that.
and then in the and then in the second flick, they called themselves the Sticky Bandits. So yeah,
Well, I mean, the Wet Bandits, though, that almost sounds like actual what they would call a slur to a certain group of people. If you say that almost
yeah.
fast enough, like you get something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even realize because I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I didn't even realize they were called the Wet Bandits. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's obvious. That's blatant. Wow,
Very, very,
amazing.
very.
But then after you all said more about it, I didn't think about it like this. Just real quick, it still reminds me of that same Viking or Norse practice of like the little boy going out into the wilderness to become a man type ritual that they do. And now I see this movie as that. And so it makes a lot more sense to me. Thank you all.
Mm. Okay, so I got to talk about this movie. This was screened a long time ago. I don't know if you ever did a broadcast on it. It's probably on YouTube, but all right, I got to go back to this book, African People and European Holidays: A Mental Genocide. All right, this movie. Listen to this from the book. All right, listen to this. During what is this is from page 69. I read this earlier too, but I'm just reading it again for the third time. Page 69. During what is referred to by some scholars as prehistoric times, African designated as Grimaldi went into Europe and subdued the ignorant tribes that dwelled there, carrying with them as they went torches of fire from before which the ignorant troglodyte fled in terror. Upon the standard borne by the conquering Africans was the sign of the dragons. Thousands of years later, after this particular group of Africans had left Europe, the remnants of this event still tormented the European psyche. So, if anyone's seen this movie, A Quest for Fire, it is literally just well, not directly because it's a movie, but it's coded symbolically to mean what was just referenced in this text. We have a group of like cave people who don't know how to make fire. They only have fire because lightning struck and it started this thing of fire, and they just been maintaining the fire. They don't know how to make a regular fire, and they actually are killing each other over the fire. It's like a group of cave people and some other cave people who appear to be a little bit more primitive, more ape like, even though these cave people are very, very ape like and act like apes and whatnot. But long story short, eventually they meet black people in this film, and guess what? The black people know how to make fire, and they teach the black people. I mean, and they teach the cave people, hey, this is how you do the fire, and it's implied that they're gonna teach them, more things about their civilization, because the cave people, they live in caves. They don't have like huts or anything yet. So the whites are well aware of their origins and their psychosis that result from their origins, but they're much more dedicated than the system than dealing with correcting their minds and correcting their behavior, it seems. But it's film very 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 interesting. It shows a cinematic depiction of cave like existence, and cave people, racist man, racist woman, dominating each other directly. This is why rape is so common in this culture, because this is just what's normal to them. Back in the cave days, it was, well, there's no consent. The male would just rape the cave girl, the white cave girl, and she could do nothing about it. So a couple thousand years later, still not much has changed. Not much has changed in regards to the behavior we are seeing and dealing with from racist men and racist women. Any comments? And don't feel like you have to comment on this movie. Share any movies we've been watching or you've been watching.
I mean, do you want to get into Trading Places already, or I mean, it's up to you.
Talk about any film. So go ahead, Mr. Brandon.
Yeah, Trading Places is another. I mean, it pretty much takes place during Christmas, and another racist, you know, film of black male who I guess he's homeless. I guess, well, he's playing to be homeless, and this white man who is rich. I don't know. I forgot what he does for a living, but these group of white people.
Brokers.
What was that?
They're commodity brokers.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but still, um, but yeah, I mean, this movie is just filled with a lot of, derogatory stuff about black people. The scene where what's his name? Eddie Murphy is taking a bath and singing, and the white guy will, oh, these people are just some singing people or whatever. He says, they say,
Oh yeah, yeah. So the scene where yeah, Eddie Murphy's dancing and singing, and then the most powerful white people, the two older white people, they're like yeah, they're great.
Randolph and Mortimer.
Yeah. Wait, what was it? Mortimer and who else?
And Randolph. Randolph was the refined racist. Mortimer was the less refined racist.
Yeah, he's like these
Yeah.
people are they're very musical people. Yes. So remember. So yeah,
I
this.
mean, yeah, go ahead.
Now I was just gonna the the very I really actually maybe I should just play the very first part of the film. Now I won't play it, but within like the first 5 minutes, we literally see a black male uh beaten by these two old white men, and it's just this movie clowns us so hard because this is really what the business of white supremacy. This is really it. This is really what it is. Because we meet before we meet Billy Ray, I think that's his name. I think that's his name, Billy Ray Valentine. Before we meet him, we are hanging out with Randolph and Mortimer, and they're just talking about money. They're talking about all the money they're making. They just made hundreds and thousands of dollars off, orange juice, off selling eggs, just selling commodities, things that white people control, the commerce and whatnot. So we know these people have a ton of money. They're leaving this this financial, institution. They are surrounded by money, literally. Um, so they definitely have a few nickels to spare, but they're white supremacists. So they see a black male in need of help that they could definitely give him. Nah, they much rather abuse us, mistreat us. They knock Billy Ray a couple of times, and yeah, he's eventually he gets in trouble for asking for help eventually because the thing happens with his suitcase or not. But I'm gonna pause there because I know I heard people trying to share, so please do.
This is just gonna be real quick. Eddie Murphy's character, Billy Ray Valentine, is a street beggar and con man. That's all I need to say. I mean,
And the fact that these two practicing racists in this film are commodities traders is very telling as well, because non-white people are seen as a commodity. I would go as far as to say that non-white people are the NFT, a non-fungible token. You know.
Yeah, basically, Randolph and Mortimer bet $1 that they can pretty much sacrifice uh Winthorpe, who's the main character, played by Dan Aykroyd, and pretty much switch him with Billy Ray Valentine, played by Eddie Murphy. That both of them, that they can have him as the commodity and having them hedge bets. I mean, my fault. Hedge funds on the actual market and the actual stocks. So yeah, very racist flick. Definitely something to just watch the white people. Watch the white butler. Watch the two white people that are practicing racism throughout the whole flick. Um, so yeah, like I said, back then I would laugh at this flick and die laughing. Later in the movie, you see blackface from Dan Aykroyd, and so yeah, a very less refined movie during the '80s, but again, that's what it was. But again, definitely something for an analysis on uh, racism, white supremacy in film. Um,
And when Eddie Murphy's character finds out about the bet these two races made, they had before they what happened is Eddie Murphy's in the bathroom stall, smoking weed, and then the two white guys walk in and they make sure, they look around the bathroom, make sure everything's clear. Eddie Murphy's hiding in the bathroom because he hears these two walking in, and then they start talking. They are more overt about their racism and their plan, their scheme, about how they just basically put uh, this monkey in a suit and gave him money, just for their little entertainment, and how they, sacrifice this white guy. So yeah, and there's Dan Aykroyd in blackface. So yeah.
I forgot about the monkey. Thank you, sir. Oh wow. Yeah, the whole train ride. I mean, the whole train ride was like a safari for them almost. Wow, this movie is it's such a great example of rape. Yes, thank you for stating this movie here being a Christmas horror. Exactly. Yeah.
I certainly hope there's enough space on the train for me. Nenge Yoboko from Cameroon. Do you remember me? It's Lionel Joseph. Lionel! From the African Education Conference, right? Yes, man. I was director of cultural events at the Haile Selassie Pavilion. I remember the pavilion. We had big fun there. Buguli, 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 ha! Buguli, 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 ha!
Winthorpe. Again, to me, I just think it just shows that white people are not ignorant about racism. Like the fact that the Ophelia character is a prostitute and pretty much can have resources. That's that that is the clear term right there. She had resources. Billy Ray didn't. So, but I think Mortimer is was the only person to say Negro. I don't remember them saying nigger. So that's what all of them.
Yeah, they said nigger in the movie. It was when they
Oh,
were in
okay,
the bathroom stall. Yeah, when they made the after the when they settled on the bet. I guess. Yeah.
got you.
Even Dan Aykroyd's character, he was a racist. I mean, he was mad at this black person taking his spot. Even when
Oh yeah,
they
definitely.
was in the yeah they was in when Eddie Murphy woke up. What's that? When Dan Aykroyd woke up from I guess he was sick or something like that and passed out, and Eddie Murphy was standing in the room with him, and he thought he was having a bad dream or something, and then he saw Eddie Murphy standing over him. He got up and started instantly choking him. So yeah. Even at the end of the movie, like these two, yeah, when they go back and they try to get back at the two white guys, they both sitting there, getting along with each other and everything. So I mean, even though the white guys are racist, so yeah.
And Wenthrop's the Aykroyd's character, super, yeah, and the just the whole interaction with Billy Ray like accidentally bumping into him, that whole interaction was you immediately can discern that okay, this person is a not even that refined of a racist. Honestly, because he was just so hostile, and his accusations of Billy Ray calling him accusing him of being a
Thief.
thief, and then how he
Mm.
was spinning the story that this thief came out of nowhere. I was just in a moment like that, it's either kill or be killed. I'm like, what? like, like,
Yeah, I think that's very important. Said white people are not ignorant about racism, and this movie is definitely clowning us. I think it's just ironic how after all that, Billy Ray still didn't get it, and he still wants to, still be around this racist that who is, yeah, it's just very telling.
mm, trying to think of it. Well, let me see if I have any. Bum, bum. Okay, I don't know if I have any more notes on trading places, but at the end, I believe that Billy Ray and Wentworth are Billy Ray thinks that that's his friend, but Wentworth still definitely a white supremacist, certainly, and yeah, not gonna help Billy Ray out of his victim status. The jail scene, um, greater confinement scene. I think. Oh wow! I see. See, I films are really like Area 3 entertainment is really wacky. And I actually hate using this word wacky now. I want to stop using that word, but it's really detrimental to the minds of black people. Area 3 because there's a film Life. I hate this film. I hate it so much. See it. I don't know why this is not well. This does not even exist, but this right here. Yeah, I guess I'll put the Eddie Murphy, so only get. So there's a really evil um aspect of entertainment that makes greater confinement like a comedy or comedic or humorous that I am encaged directly, and I'm in here making we're making jokes about this situation. We're making white of this situation, it seems. But yeah, that's what that scene was in Trading Places, um, and I'm sure a scene that gets countless laughs will get countless laughs until infinity, until the problem is solved. But this film right here is about two black males who should not be in greater confinement, but they're in greater confinement, and it's a comedy. What is funny about this traumatic existence of actually going to greater confinement, actually being confined by the system, and then existing in a system where at any moment they can throw you in greater confinement for something that they said you did or for something that you were directly or indirectly forced to do by them because of your pitiful circumstances in this system. So this film we didn't watch it. I haven't watched it in a long time, but even it's such a powerful piece of racist propaganda that there's that cornbread scene. You want your cornbread or something. It's like wow, and now black people have that stereotype with cornbread and whatnot. So these very this black male misandry and all that stuff is got really enhanced. This movie came out right before the 2000s, into the 21st century, and yeah, there's nothing funny about going in greater confinement, about being in jail. If you're in greater confinement, I don't think there's anything to be smiling or laughing about, but that can be said for probably the system white supremacy as well. But directly inside metal housing, being told what to do 24 hours a day directly, yeah, that's not a laughing matter. But here's the movie life. White people are like, we definitely will give these confused victims of racism all the resources they need to get this film propped up. And I'm sure if we were to watch this film, it would show a lot. But has anyone seen this? Anyone remember this film, perchance?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Claude and Ray get imprisoned for uh, basically well, I mean, somebody killed a white man and they got blamed for the murder because of Ray's uh he he had like a pocket watch that his dad like gave him, and that was found at the murder scene, and they both get put in greater confinement until they're like in their what, like 80s. And then uh yeah uh yeah they're in like greater confinement for more than like 40 years, and then at the end of the movie they're at a baseball game as if this is something to celebrate. So yeah, I have seen the movie, but I would definitely have to like watch it, like analyze it more, because there was some Area 8 in there too. So you know, Black Baby came into the mix of one of the prisoners, and yeah, yes, I have seen that flick.
Yeah, I've seen this movie a lot when I was a child. Yeah, them being at the baseball game at the end of the movie. I mean, they come up with this, very smart plan to get out of greater confinement just to go see a baseball game. Very stupid. So yeah.
Yeah, this film honestly terrified me because I saw the young me saw like the all the opportunities that the white people could have let them out of jail, that the white people now know that they're innocent, but they're still keep them. They are in jail until they are old and gray. And it was just, I was like, it really messed up my brain computer having to see to see this. But the film definitely shows that, again, what all films will show, if you are looking, the deception necessary to keep the system going, the confusion necessary to keep the confused state that victims must be in to keep the system going. Yeah, but dang, what a piece of work this movie is. Hey. Okay, so we will. Okay, yeah. So another one. We're just gonna knock them all out. Crossing all territories now. They don't have to be a Christmas, so-called Christmas movie or whatever. But we did watch this one as well. And this film is very fascinating to me because it actually um reminds me of a lot of almost Amos and Wilson, Dr. Amos and Wilson's speeches and his writings, because yes, this character is very silly. You know, he is at the same time like a genius, a genius of sorts. And Dr. Wilson mentions and discusses how the system understands first the potential of black people, and understands that a number of us are just naturally born very gifted and very much genius. So sometimes the system will not sabotage that mind, as not directly, but because of how the system it's just in place, because of how we are just conditioned to follow the status quo. The people who express that genius mind, they often are going to be alienated. They won't have any friends because they can't relate to anyone, because the system says, hey, that people who are like that, you're supposed to shun those people. So Nutty Professor, you know, he's a genius, but because he's alone and so victimized and so traumatized, he's addicted to poison, and he of course comes from he's a victim of racism, so he comes from a long line of confused victims of racism who just is a total travesty to observe the victims of racism in this film, who make sport of gossiping and name calling and mistreating one another, make sport of it, and have lots of laughs doing it. And maybe it should be noted that this film is based off inspired by the Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis or whatever. Anywho, I'm like, this movie right here, all right, this movie is getting played like worldwide. What kind of reputation are the people of this collective gonna get because of this movie? What are people gonna think of black people or non-white people when they see Nutty Professor, when they see what is depicted here, what some people will call this as like black culture? But no, the people in this film, his family, the Nutty Professor, they act very white. It's a very white acting family. The way they gorge themselves, they act like white supremacists. The way they mistreat one another. But the film, like another one of Eddie Murphy's works, the PJs, it depicts just the ghetto glorification we have been um immersed in due to the system. The fact that the way we have to exist, we don't have to. I should say, we definitely don't have to exist like this. The way we've been taught, and some of us choose to exist with this ghetto glorification. That also comes through in his PJs, because in that show the same thing. A bunch of black people are in that show. They have really terrible diets, because that is black culture, having an awful diet. They are constantly mistreating each other, name calling each other for comedic value, for fun. We see that in PJs and in Nutty Professor. Why is it that black culture has been made a thing where we are jokingly mistreating each other? Well, why has that been so popularized and normalized? Is it because the racists know that's a quick way or a sure way to some conflict and to some confusion, because not everything people don't respond to being mistreated the same way. Sometimes a person is trying to jokingly mistreat someone, and then conflict ensues because a person is confused as to why they're being mistreated. So, but yeah, I had this question that I should ask to the other host. What does the imagery and the works of like the PJs and the Nutty Professor and Life, what does this imagery make people think of black people? What would you guys think?
Seems like people just think of black people when they look at these images is that they're, unhealthy, unfit, not smart, just people who are, they like to act like animals, being silly. I mean, just, they don't like doing nothing constructive or, solving any problems or nothing, just silliness. That's all. So I'm mute.
To answer your question, I think so many in so many of these films it just shows black people in confinement in some sort of jail system. Um, Maybe if the movie doesn't even really leave the home. Let's say something like Precious. I mean, even that had jail. I mean, everything is centered around it's okay to keep black people confined, and in prison, and propagate that so we see ourselves like that. So yeah, it's usually in almost all these films.
Thank you, Mr. Yahoo, Mr. Brandon. Another film we watched. Definitely, I would call this certainly a Christmas film. All these films are Christmas films because Christmas just means something horrific. So, Breaking. All right, we saw this film. Wow. So this is I wish Tevin was still in here, but this film is super tragic example of just drastic measures some black males are led to while subjected to the system of white supremacy when they just need a little bit of help. And I don't think this person definitely needed help, but he really just needed something that was incorrectly taken from him, stolen from him, I should say. So this film is let me actually, I don't recall the name. Okay, this is based off a true story. All right, so yeah, Breaking tells the powerful story of Marine veteran Brian Brown Easley. All right, so that's what the movie's about. He's a veteran, and he is owed money. The check, the amount of money he is owed is like something around 800 and like something dollars. We know that. So in his attempt to get his money, we must always understand that we are victims of racism, prisoners of war, highly confused, highly victimized. So the way we react to racism sometimes it's unpredictable. So the way he reacted to his condition, his victimization, his prison status, was he went into a bank and he said, "Got a bomb. I want what I should have. I want what is owed to me, or people are gonna die." You know. Long story short, he didn't have a bomb. He didn't have a weapon or anything, and the race soldiers, what is commonly known as law enforcement, they didn't need to kill the black male, but they did, of course, because that's what you do in a system. It's fun killing black males if you're a race soldier. So this film is just like another. This film is based off a true, so-called true event. We're never gonna get the true story because the victim of racism, Mr. Brown, is he was murdered by the system. But this film reminds me of another tacky and common theme that the racists love putting on the screen, like a black male doing something super drastic just to get some help. And there's one part in the movie where he's just, I just want some attention. I was like, that line would have been perfect if he would have just said help, because he's clearly in need of help. The system refuses to help the people that need help the most, and that is one of the reasons why this system is so evil. No one should be incapable of getting the help that they need, but that's what we're dealing with right now in 2022, going into 2023, going in 2024 and 2025 and 2026, if we do not solve this problem. 2020 infinity. Okay. This film reminds me of John Q. Another film, black male, desperate. Damn, I need, my offspring is dying. I need help. Can't get the help. My reaction to this evil system, just gotta get some hostages, I guess. I gotta get some white people. Gotta get some people who are more valuable than myself, apparently, because I can't. I clearly can't do this. Can't do this alone. And this film, we did not watch this film recently. This is all from just the amount of times I watched this as a younger child. But I do believe a white woman is who eventually saves the black child who gets the heart. I think she's dead though. But yeah, another tacky movie. Or is it her? It's probably her. I'm sure she played a role in helping the whole white savior thing. But I don't know. I don't know if this is yeah, just this film does have some constructive moments possibly, but I think it's still quite terroristic that the how the story played out. Another film, following the theme I've mentioned. Veteran, he comes back from what is known as the Vietnam War, but we should just see that as a small conflict, a conflict, and a conflict in the system's effort to expand, maintain, and refine the race war of white supremacy. So he went to do some like direct work for the race war. Unfortunately, in this film, he comes back super, of course, traumatized, more confused. He's killed yellow people watch yellow people, white people, black people get exploded, killed. You know, logically, if you so-called serve your country, fight for your country, whatever that's supposed to mean, you should not have to. If you have to eliminate someone for your so-called country, for your so-called uh people's freedom, country's freedom, you should be set. You should be set for life. You should not have to worry about anything. Your so-called country should take care of you. All right, because you did some serious work for us. You went out and killed for us. All right, all right. You don't gotta worry about nothing. We'll sort you out. But no, not in this system. You know, you go out and kill for white people. You still gotta come back. Going through the VA, you know, checks bouncing, get lost in the mail, you know, having a call, getting in line, getting a queue, you know. So this black male in this film, Tate Day, I don't know the character's name. I haven't seen this film in a very long time, but I just remember it a little bit. But Tate Diggs, is that just this let me not get his names wrong. My bad. Lawrence Tate, his character comes back. He needs help in the form of economics, time, and energy. You know, he thinks robbing banks is gonna give him that help. Long story short, it doesn't. You know, people die, and what Yahoo said earlier, it ends with him going to greater confinement. Greater confinement. That's how it ends. So, you know, white people get, you know, movies like Forrest Gump, you know, a white man goes to Vietnam, comes back, starts up a restaurant, super so successful. When it comes to the black vet, bank robber, go to jail. You know, born on the 4th of July, you know, so much sympathy. We got this. Oh, let me get born on the 4th of July as well. Let me get this. Come on. All right. So you get this. You know, it's Tom Cruise movie, Born, but it's the same thing. You know, same concept. Army vet. You know, but you know, we're so sympathetic. He got injured over there. He's not getting the sympathy and attention and help that he needs. You know, doesn't have to become a bank robber because the system, gives him the help that he needs. But you know, black male, no, I don't care how many yellow people you killed for us, boy. If the VA checks aren't enough, sorry. Yeah, white power. So this is why all of us should be, reading and studying this book right here, so we can end this problem, because all these movies just reflect the dire need to solve this problem. You know, one good lesson to take from all movies is, this movie makes me want to end racism, because wow, none of this should exist. Yeah, like what we got, we got these tools. We call them tools, weapons, and then when you put this trigger, it puts a hole in a person, and then their life force oozes out, and then they are dead now. That's super grotesque, and I would say primitive now. It's because it's been happening for so long at this point. Yeah, it's very dated. We should really want to do something new, like peace. Peace maybe. Balance between people. But any comments, thoughts on what was just said, or something that came to your mind? All right, another movie, another very deranged. One more movie. I almost forgot. Another. Damn. So many movies, but they're all about the same thing, because these movies are meant to do the same thing, just keep us complacent in this system. So we actually have a full decoding of this movie on our. Oh wow! Of course, that's gonna. When did the movie come out? It came out last year, 2022. I'll just put the film. Yeah, so another film where this black male, he directly goes to a white man for help, but instead of him getting constructive help, he's like, no, let's go rob this bank. And again, he's also he's also a veteran. Wow, of course. I think he's also a veteran in this film as well. Wow, so so that's three movies with veterans. One was a real he actually existed and actually perished. But three movies with veterans who became bank robbers. Wow, you really can't make this stuff up. The system will do it for you. Yeah, system. It will tell on itself. Another very disturbing, gross movie that we gotta talk about. Is it The Toxic Avenger? Yes. Wow, this movie right here. Yeah. Yeah, don't ever do not ever watch this movie. Not even for study purposes. that would be my suggestion. But this movie, The Toxic Avenger, I think this is has Yurugu, Dr. Ramirez Ani Yurugu written all over it. It's often said in this business that white people do not care about children. This movie shows that directly. It shows that mentality directly. The whole ape-like behavior of racist men and racist women and how they attack the genitals of black people and historically have documented themselves, castrating black males, removing their genitals and phalluses during lynchings. That's what primates do in the jungle. And this film, that the chimping out, the aping out, is definitely demonstrated as well. So, the Toxic Avenger, the creature you see on the screen is a white man who was white sacrificed by a group of other white supremacists. He was again the same themes. All these movies are the same, honestly, same themes. Through deception and violence, he is maimed and made into this monster who is the Toxic Avenger. And what the Toxic Avenger does is very similar to what white supremacists do. White supremacists in this film and white supremacists in real life. He kills, and while he's killing, he seems to be having fun doing it. In this film, there's a scene where a group of white people are driving around, and they want to have some fun. So the way they're having fun is running people over, killing them, and they run over. They see a child, they see a kid, and they practice some white supremacy racism by, hey, they're gonna deceive the child. They're gonna smile and wave at the white child, and then the next thing you know, they run the child over. They kill the white child, sacrifice the white child for their own fun, pleasure, and enjoyment. And they also have, so a line where they're playing the game where they run people over and get points, and there's a line that says how much are non-white people worth, and we heard that the terms Jew, WAP, and nigger, and probably some other terms as well. This film definitely, from my observation, it shows you that violence and killing and sex, that's like interchangeable. Sex and aggression and violence, it's something unique to the Yurugu, something unique to racist men and racist women. They are able to get some sort of sexual gratification while participating in violence, and you see that. You see scenes in this movie where teenagers are like having sex while killing, or while talking about who they're gonna kill. You have the Toxic Avenger is a very, very atrocious character. He first of all of the black people in this movie, when they are killed, they die in the worst ways. Freaking, we have a black male who is placed in a trash can, and while he's in the trash can, his genitals are pummeled on repeatedly, and then he is thrown like garbage while he's in the trash can. We have a countersexual black male gets his eyes gouged out, and after the Toxic Avenger brutalizes you, because racists take great thrill in practicing violence, and this film shows that, because when he's killing these people, he's having a blast. But after he maims them, he inserts this phallic symbol into them, this mop, and it's very akin to sexual domination. After him, very akin to sexual domination. I decode that as the area that this fantasy takes place in is very much similar to the system of white supremacy. It's openly corrupt, openly evil. Like, if you just squint your eyes a little bit, you can see how incorrect this place is. You can see the people in need of great help. You can see them not getting the help that they need. You can see all of it. It's not that hard to discern, but hey, that's what it is. I would classify this character as like a white supremacist savage because it's just so brutal. And this film celebrates violence and gore. This is one of those films where you could tell the usual suspects behind it put a great number of effort into making like the effects, like the black people being maimed, the white people being maimed. They wanted it to look very authentic, and it definitely shows a dedication to violence and evil, but not to making sure people can get some correct food everywhere on the planet. How about that? How about everyone on the planet can eat on this so-called day of Christmas? Is that happening today? Is everyone on this planet going to be able to have 3 constructive meals or something like that? Is everyone on the planet on this day gonna not be mistreated? Certainly not. Certainly not. But we still gonna be celebrating for some reason. Bup. There's only. Oh wow, yeah. So this film again, sexual, like Area 8 sex. Yes. Please, go to PurdueJustice.com. Read up on Area 8. If for some reason you do not want to read the book, we read it for you. Not directly, but we definitely covered the book cover to cover. You can find it on our playlist on this channel. But in this movie, there's a line. One of the characters says, "There's only one muscle that matters," and he points to his phallus. Because racists understand that that is also one of the tools that they've used to sexually to dominate, to conquer. They've used sexual violence to help them in that practice and maintenance of the system. And you can learn a lot more about that and like reading texts like the Delectable Negro for sure. That's a awesome place to start. And if you want like a updated version of how sexual confusion, Area 8 intercourse, Area 8 interaction with white people. If you want to see what that looks like in the minds of white and non-white people, Pieces of a Puzzle by Renita Tate. You got to get your hands on that text as well. Yeah, but back to this film. This film is super celebrated, super duper racist, and yeah, this is this is an excellent archetype or example of a just a white supremacist superhero or whatever the hell this creature is. And of course, he is race code war of how he is sometimes appears to be like a ugly dark creature, but he's really like a white supremacist savage. But that's the power of racist propaganda. Anything to share? Okay, so there's one more item this here to cover. Yeah, this the PJs. But this show, this Area 3, where just and absolutely it's just nothing is nothing is funny about what's been done to black people or where black people have been placed, where we have been literally told this is where you are going to be. This is your area. This is your hood, your projects, your O Block, your South Central, your whatever the hell you want to call it. It's really the system of white supremacy, but we'll let you call it what you want to call it. We put you here, and let me tell you what I'm going to put around you. I'm going to put these liquor stores around you that mostly going to sell you poison. Yeah, if you need some tape or some super glue, they'll have that. But you're not going to get no arugula from there or no oat milk. Or, yeah, you're not going to get that from the liquor store or the corner store. And I'm also going to, don't expect me to be maintaining these sidewalks or these streets at all. And expect me to deliver and allow you all to get firearms. I'm gonna let you guys have some firearms. I'm gonna, we'll make sure you have them, and we're gonna make sure that the dwellings, these apartment dwellings that you all exist in, don't expect them to be the best environments. Expect them to be quite run down, quite in need of repair that they're not going to receive probably ever. And yeah, that's going to be your existence until you so-called make it out the hood, whatever that actually means, until you make it out of this area, I guess. Yeah, nothing is funny about this reality that is real, and this is just a small, concise telling of what the areas that they make us exist in. But nothing is funny about it. But we have the PJs where a lot of effort has went into making our situation funny. This show should only be looked at as an example to what really has occurred in some areas black people dwell in. This show makes fun of black children eating nothing but poison. That occurs in the system because that is how this system was designed, and that is how we are taught. This system makes fun of this show makes fun of black people not being able to read. Hey, what's nothing funny about that? Because that's still quite common on this planet, non-white people not knowing how to read. Show makes fun of non-white people just constant conflict with one another, name calling. This show makes fun of this character right here. His whole he's a funny crackhead who is made to be very creature like. He literally pops out of nowhere sometimes. Well, just made to be some sort of crackhead prop for comedic effect. There's nothing funny about this chemical agent known as crack that was flooded into these areas by a racist man and racist woman to destroy our minds further. Nothing funny about that being done to us. But hey, we're supposed to laugh about it. With so many crack jokes, crackhead joke, crack baby jokes, and in Area 3 all around. But yes, there's nothing funny about crack. But we just had 2022 Atlanta. They tried to make crack sandwich funny. Now it's just so stupid the way we have been taught to use our minds, unfortunately. The show makes fun of the black male and black female incorrect interactions and relationship with one another. We just can't get along. There's one episode that is just, for me, it's just so tragic. Just why this is just pitiful. There's all Miriam wants from her black male is, hey, can we do something constructive together? Can we go on a walk? Can you get away from the TV screen, please? Can we do that? But I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. But all he wants to do is watch TV. He just glued to the TV. And there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about the reality that they have really made us addicted to technology, addicted to these screens, to the point where we can't even go on a walk with this person is supposed to be our wife, our girlfriend, our chosen mates. This show, there's literally a character on this show that speaks gibberish. You never know what he's saying. Let me see if I can find. I don't know his name. Let me see if he's right. But sometimes, what? Let me try to remember. What is his? What is his name? What is his main character's? I can't talk about the show and not remember the main character's name. What is his? Oh, Thurgood. Okay, Thurgood. I remember that. Okay, so Thurgood is Eddie Murphy's character. Oh wow. So Thurgood will sometimes need assistance. He goes to this person who's hanging out on like this alley somewhere, and he'll talk to this person, but you can never understand what the person is saying. He's just speaking gibberish. And then at the end of the exchange, Thurgood will always say, hey, what you're saying, as some sort of joke. And that reminded me of the Trading Places scene where they're just talking gibberish to each other, because this is how racist men and racist women want black people to be perceived as. Like this movie, no, this show shows black people and so much conflict with one another. But hey, the blame is never ever placed on racist man or racist woman. It's always black people's fault that the gangs are tearing up the neighborhood. What black people are not manufacturing guns, are nothing like that. There's also a bit in this show where Thurgood Thurgood attempts to be constructive, even though he's a black male victim of racism, addicted to TV, highly confused, and highly victimized and stressed out, super stressed out by the system, because he doesn't understand it. And the less you understand the system, the easily stressed you are, the more reactionary you are to the system. I think so. But he attempts to be constructive. He's like the repair guy at the apartments. Because sometimes he needs to go to the county to get things approved. And the county building is very, very, very just them clowning what they've done to our what they put us through. Honestly, the county is just it's not a pleasant place. You go there and you don't see he doesn't see the person he's interacting with. She's like behind a cage, like a barricade or something, and she is never ever pleasant with him. She's always hostile. She's always very discourteous towards him. And this show, just like most entertainment involving black people, it normalizes and encourages just us being discourteous towards one another for fun. You just that's just what we're supposed to do. Not be pleasant, not be courteous to one another, not call each other what we want to be called. But yeah, the show, I know exactly why I didn't like it when I was a child. It looked ugly because it is an ugly show. It's a very ugly show, and there's nothing comedic about the black existence, especially if you are existing in an area that white people allow the PJs, the projects, to actually occur. Oh no way! Oh no way! It's absolutely not funny. And there's this caricature, this voodoo lady, and that's just clowning African spirituality, ancient African spirituality. Um, yeah, and that's just I'm thinking if I yeah, but I don't even know if this show is on a lot of people's radars. But if yeah, you want to yes, yeah, just really, really motivational. This is a very motivational show. Watch this show. It should motivate you to want to end racism immediately. Immediately. Well, we've been here for a while, and yeah. Am I who is okay, so yeah, it seems to be Mr. myself and Mr. Brandon. Mr. Brandon, do you have any thing you'd like to share before we close out soon? Okay, awesome. I really do hope it was constructive, and please like, comment, share this information if you feel it was of constructive value. Please give if you didn't catch the beginning, please give it a study, a listen, so you may or just read this book right here, or just check out some of this book so you can have a greater understanding of these holidays that you've been lied to your entire existence to believe that you should be partaking in. We must use our time and energy to greater effect to counter the system of white supremacy, racism. And just because you it's not a you should any day you should be able to plan any day in a calendar year. You should be able to plan any day in a calendar year and make it super pleasant, super awesome with your care unit, your family, if you want to call it that. You don't need a holiday to have a pleasant time with your family. You don't need a holiday to be courteous to them. And we need to definitely not be spending any money. We need to practice better money usage as non-white people in general. But I'm just a nigger. I'm not a financial advisor. I just want to not be a nigger anymore. So producejustice.com, please. Producejustice.com. Let's solve this problem once and for all. We will be here next year if racism has not been eliminated. For sure. And maybe I will suggest everyone learn something really awesome and constructive and epic next year, and start thinking about it, or maybe starting doing it right now. What is something epic I'm going to learn next year? That's what, have that on your itinerary, your mental itinerary for next year, because I'm sure the racists have a lot of wonky things planned in the year 2023. So we should also have some plans, some constructive plans as well. Let me get started. Hey, let me get the
You are alive.
No. I exist.
and special shout out to Rate This Record and Less Confused.
You are alive.
Our Patreon supporters, and very, 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 very appreciated. CRWS signing out.